Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Marissa Pecoraro. I use she, her pronouns. I am the in-person event coordinator for Huntington's Disease Youth Organization, also known as HDYO. Welcome back to the HDYou Community Stories. This is a series that's dedicated to sharing stories and experiences from the HD community for the HD community. In addition to managing the many impacts of HD on themselves and others within their tight circle, at an early age, many young people also began helping parents or family members who are affected by HD. Today, we will discuss what it's like to live far from home as a young person from an HD family. This session will be hosted by our ambassador, Claudia, who will guide our conversation with 4 of our other ambassadors who have volunteered their time and chosen to share their stories today. Thank you so much for leading this conversation today, Claudia.
Thank you, Marisa. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to HDYou Community Stories, stories for the community, from the community. I'm Claudia, I'm from Italy, and I'm an HDYO ambassador. I'm also at risk for Huntington's disease. And today we're talking about something really close to many of us. So what it's like to live far away from home, especially when HD is part of the picture. So today I'm really happy to be here with Ashley, Eric, Sean, and Sadie, who decided to join us and share their stories. So if you want, maybe starting with Ashley, if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, where are you currently living and where you moved from?
Hi everyone. So my name is Ashley and I live here in Northern Ireland. The accent is probably a dead giveaway. My connection to HD is through my father. He had the disease for around 15 years and it is coming up now on his third anniversary. Throughout Dad's life with HD and since his diagnosis until he passed, it was always very important to my family and myself that I continued with my education, and that required me moving away from my hometown and balancing that, workload. And then in the middle of that, I had some amazing opportunities to go to the United States of America to teach water sports, which is also a big love of my father's. So that was non-negotiable in his eyes, I believe. So yeah, it was tough trying to make that happen whenever he needed me there to care for him. So I spent time at university and I spent time over in the States.
That's great, Ashley. Thank you for sharing. Eric, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Eric, 22, living in Canada. So I grew up in a small town called Minnedosa. Our population's about 2,000, and that's where my dad lives. He's also my connection to HD, my dad and my grandma. I currently go to school in Calgary, which is a 12-hour drive west or a 2-hour flight with a 2-hour drive. Um, yeah, I guess I moved for university when I graduated high school. So kind of similar, like for me, I always knew I would have to move away. At the time when I was moving away, I was just excited. I was like, oh my gosh, a new chapter. Like it's going to be like a movie. And the more that I got into both school and educating myself about HD, the more I realized that there was a lot more I could be doing around home to help out and um, just be there to support my family. But yeah, now I'm graduated, so we'll see where life takes me. But that's pretty much me.
Great, Eric. Thank you. Sean, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sean. I live in the UK. I'm in London at the moment. My connection to HD is that my mum has it, is living with it at the moment. She's in sort of the mid to late stages, living in an assisted living facility. Um, so my kind of view perspective for this is that I live about 2 hours from her at the moment. And a big decision on where me and my partner are located has been around me being the closest relative to her geographically. So I visit as often as I can, and I'm kind of the most actively involved in talking to her care team, etc. but initially, when this conversation topic was introduced to the ambassadors, I thought about our time in Australia. Just a couple of years ago, 2023, we lived out our kind of life goal of going and working in Australia for a bit. Our original mindset was that we might end up moving out there permanently, or at least we'd spend a few years out there. The timing was at a difficult point in mum's symptoms and the disease kind of progressing. So we'd made the decision to go, and similar to Ashley saying, you know, it was a no-brainer that your dad would want you to go. I knew that mum would want me and my partner to go to Australia, but I struggled a lot while we were out there with the feeling of being away, and particularly being on a completely flipped time zone, and just having kind of constant anxiety that I'd miss something pivotal that had happened. But of course, when we returned, I've been able to pick up and be with her and spend time with her. So I wouldn't change it at all that we went to Australia, but it's definitely an interesting conversation that I'm sure we'll have about battling with those feelings while you're away.
Thank you, Shannon. Last but not least, Sadie.
Hi there. My connection to HD is my mom had it, and her mother had it as well. I come from a very big family. There's 5 of us who were all at risk. I am gene negative, and I actually have kind of 2 connections of moving away from home. The first one being moving away for university. Just like Eric, I come from a really small town. You had to move away to get to university. So I moved about a 3-hour drive to my university. And then during my university time, my mom actually ended up passing away in my 5th year. And I moved back home in my last year. And then I decided I'm going to take a big leap and go to London, England to become a teacher and do a passion of mine and go travel the world. So that's where I kind of am now. So I'm living in London right now and enjoying all the beauty of the UK.
That's great. Thank you. So let's talk about planning for your trip. So Ashley, how did you go about, starting to plan for your trips?
Well, in terms of America, because it was more of what you would call a short term. So I was due to be out there for about 3 months. And at this point, my dad was still living at home. He lived about a mile away from my home house. We were always quite close. Like when we were all at home, we were close, if that makes sense, in the sense of where we lived. So my brother was still going to be here. So I went to America 3 times total, so I did. And the first time I went was probably the most nerve-wracking, even though come the last time, Dad's care needs had got more. The first time leaving him was probably the scariest. So I was doing most of his care at that time just because it wasn't as big an amount, if that makes sense. So it was just really like sitting down with my mom and my brother, talking through like how that was going to work, how we were going to, make it work, that like Ryan would pick up from me and he would like know what to do and when to do it. Me and Ryan worked together really closely and figured out how we could make it work. I was in university and then leaving for the summer, and my brother was studying an apprenticeship to train to be a joiner. So it was just working out like how we could make that work for our schedules. So leaving, I felt super anxious. I was super scared. Like, what if something happened and I'm gonna be like up the Adirondack Mountains in like New York State and signal isn't great? And like keeping in mind, this was not that long ago. This was the first year I went was 2012, but like I had to bring like a lump of a laptop with Skype and had to like pre-arrange with my family to be like, okay, you need to be online at 4 p.m. your time because I've got a break. So it was very like, let's say old school and how we like communicated and stuff. Like it was very much like I was emailing my friends instead of like just, sending them a WhatsApp or a Facebook message. Um, but by the last year I went to America, like you took your phone out of your pocket and you like hit video call and you held it in front of you. And it was so much easier probably the last time I went because like my family would visit with my dad and I could video call him there. Like I could see him and I could talk to him. Whereas the first time it was like 3 months, no communication. It was just like, Mom, how's dad doing? Hi, Ryan, were you in with dad today? How's that going? So like it was very anxious, very scary. And, like we had to sit down and have that conversation where if something happened, what do we do? Like, what is the extent that we fly you home? Like, what is that sort of like level of she needs to get on a plane, And that's the fear. That's always the fear, And I have been so blessed to travel a lot. And I remember like another time that I was in America, it was actually for the HDSA convention. And like my dad's nursing home called me. And in that 2 seconds it took me to walk out of that room and be like, hello, I was like, okay, I need to get from my hotel in Boston back to my aunt's house in Connecticut, get my case, get over to the airport in Hartford, get a flight home. Like my credit card's cleared. I can put that on my credit card. Mom will come to the airport in Dublin and lift me. And these are the thoughts that are continually running through your head. Like you always have to have nearly, like I used to call it my escape plan. And like that's what it was leading up to leaving was always like, did he have what he needed? Was my brother like fit to do what he needed to do? Like, did he understand? Did he have that time commitment? Like, was all that going to work out okay? And did I have my escape plan from where I was going? And that was like trying to prepare to leave.
That's great. Thank you for sharing this. And actually having, a plan can make you feel a little bit more calm because you know that the people knows how to do it. Eric, how about you? When did you start planning your trip? How did it go?
Uh, I think compared to Ashley, I didn't plan hardly anything. I was 18 when I was leaving home. Uh, I guess in all fairness, my first year of university was online just because of COVID and all that. But my main thoughts when I was moving were mostly about myself. It was like, okay, how am I going to make friends at university? How hard are the classes going to be in person? And I never really gave much thought as to like how I was going to maintain my relationships back home. Which looking back is definitely more of a young person's thought because after like the first year when the rose-colored glasses kind of go away, I just realized like how much more I valued being at home, being around my family. We called a fair amount, and like Ashley said, it's really easy, like just WhatsApp and stuff like that to get a video call, but it's just not the same as everybody sitting around the table. Um, so I think for when I was planning that, it was in terms of HD stuff, like my dad's fairly early stages, he's still working, um, drives everywhere. Mostly it's like mood symptoms. So it wasn't really a thought. Now, I'm going to be moving to Montreal in the fall for the next 2 years. So I'm in a fairly similar state of just how do I be proactive? How do I try to like make my parents' house a bit more accessible for them? Like, are we going to install a handrail? Are we going to like what kind of things do they need to make life a bit more enjoyable here? But um, I don't know, beyond that, I'm mostly just looking forward to hearing what other people did so I can get it right the next time.
Yeah, Shan, how about you? What was your planning before leaving?
So when we were planning to go to Australia, um, we spent about a year planning. It was something that we both had really, really wanted to do for a long time, like pre even being together, me and my partner. We'd always wanted to do it. Um, Took about a year planning it. It was a big deal. We left our jobs and everything so that we could move out there and just kind of be free to stay there for as long as worked out. We spoke to all of our family. I spoke to mum at the time, and she'd always been super supportive of me traveling and knew that it was something that I was really, really passionate about doing. So although I perhaps couldn't fully gauge how aware she was of how far away I'd be, how long I'd be away for, I knew that it was something that she would support. In that year of us planning, it was challenging watching mum kind of deteriorate in that year period, knowing that we were working towards living on the other side of the world. It was difficult to kind of still be excited for the trip and look forward to all these plans we had, because we'd made the decision to go when she was in one particular way, and by the time we left, she was in a different state. It was also challenging kind of managing different people's views and opinions on it. It's helpful to get other people's opinions, but sometimes you just have to do what's right for you. And, in this situation, it was me and my partner. It was the right decision for us to make. And yeah, no regrets with us going away, but can be challenging if you've got people who are forthcoming with their opinions that might be different to what you feel.
Yes, you're right. And you're right. We're the only ones that know what's right for us and what's best for us. So good for, following your instincts, since I'm feeling like it was like the dream of your life, and both yours and your partner. So great. Thank you for sharing. And Sadie, did you moved twice? So first for the university and then to a whole different country. So how was the planning? Was it the same? Was it different?
Two different completely sets of plans, if that makes sense. So the first one, kind of like Eric, you're young, you're ready to go to university. I didn't even think about like the family aspect. I was like, I can't wait to get away from the family. I can't wait to go make friends and party and do a whole new chapter in my life. So I didn't really plan anything that way. I just, packed my bags, off I went to university. It was the planning of like, when do I come home? When do I visit mom? Like, every couple months I would go home and see her and like visit her with my siblings. It was really tough seeing her progress even worse over time. Like, I was at university for 6 years, so it was a long time to be away. And I would call my siblings. I'm like, oh, you went to go see mom. How was she? And she's like, oh, they're fine. Like, she's doing good. But then when I went to go see her, I'm like, why didn't you tell me she's getting worse? Like, she's progressively have gotten worse over the last 3 months. And they're like, oh, like, we don't see it, because they were seeing her literally every week, where I would only see her every couple months. To the point of like, in my 5th year, like, I got a call saying like, you need to come home now. Like, she's in palliative care. Like, you need to say your goodbye, kind of thing. So I just remember I was living with all these girls who were quite mean and nasty. And I packed my bags. I was like, I need to go home. And they're like, you're really going to go into a nursing home? I'm like, yeah, I actually have to go home. Like, my mom is on her deathbed. I need to say goodbye. And they were quite rude to me because they didn't want me to catch COVID. And I actually had to get my roommate to drive me to like hometown to like say my goodbyes. So that was quite tough. And like, as I went through my university career, I did more planning every time I left the summer and like went back into the university town, and just watching her, like, the late stages come on, and like knowing, okay, if I do have to go home, I bought a car, I can make my way back home anytime I get that phone call. And then she ended up passing away. And then in my last year of university, I decided to apply to a teaching agency in the UK. And I knew that's what mom would want me to do, and like go live my dream of traveling and teaching and doing something for myself, instead of staying at home. So when I was planning that was more like planning my life and what I want to see in my life, but also like talking to my uncle who is part of the Huntington's family with mine. I said, if I need to come home, you call me. Like my one brother has Huntington's. So I said, if anything happens, you let me know and I'll book my flight, I'll pack my bags and I'll come home. I haven't got a phone call from him yet. So we're still over here living life and enjoying it as it is. So two different plans, but almost planning for myself. I didn't really plan for the family aspect.
And I'm sorry that it happened to you. Sometimes people don't understand the situation and don't always advise the best, and that's unfortunate. And I wanted to ask also to Ashley and Eric, how did your family and friends respond, to you moving? Something happened, everyone was on board?
In terms of my family would be quite small, so it would. In terms of like looking after dad, it would, my parents were separated and then eventually that became a divorce. But my mom was always there. Like it was like me, my mom, and my brother against the world. Like we were a team, and like we had dads. Like he was so important in our lives, and he was the priority. And then like we would have had like, like my mom's sister would have helped out at like different times when we didn't needed her and stuff. And we were a small family, and they supported me. And like listening to like everybody else's stories, I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I feel like it's like you just need to do what's right for you. And like by the signs of things, like all of our parents supported our dreams or our goals, whether it was like moving for university or moving for traveling. And like that's just what I like kept telling myself. And like my mum and my brother would have said the same. Like dad always wanted my brother and I to get a good education and get a good job and like make something of our lives, if that makes sense. Like my dad was like a truck driver, and he would have been like, I want you to do more, I want you to do better, I want you to go to university, I want you to get an education. And if we could make that happen and still look after him and give him the care that he needed, then that was like the ideal world. It was really really flipping hard. Like my university was like a 2-hour drive away on a good day, and like you would be sitting in a class and then you would get a phone call, and it would be from like a neighbor or somebody in the local village, or it would be the care assistant, or it would be, somebody to do with his care team. And you just have to like get up in the middle of a lecture and leave and go. And like that was stressful because it was like you always had to make sure you had enough money for petrol for the car or, all that kind of stuff. And my family were such a rock. They were such a support. And like nobody, I don't think really knows this, but like my brother used to have like a standing order, like a direct debit, because he was like working full time when I was in university. Like he used to put money into my bank account so that I could afford to like live at university and travel home when dad would need me and have petrol money. It wasn't for partying, it wasn't for, luxuries or anything. It was to make sure that I could be there when I had to be there, and it was really tough on all of us, but we were a solid rock. We fell out, we had arguments, we were tired, we were stressed, we were all working to the bone, but as a whole, we were each other's rock, and we got ourselves through this because we each had our individual life goals, but we all had like the one agreement that like dad was a priority and we needed to make sure he was okay. And we knew that like dad would never have wanted this illness to he would never have wanted me to stay in my little tiny village and get like a job somewhere, like whatever that might be, like get a wee job and look after him. And he would never have wanted that. He would have wanted us to have like big dreams and big life goals. Like I can remember telling him the first time that I got my job in America, he was like, awesome. He was like, when are you going, and then to get to go back like 3 times, to go 3 times in total, like I feel incredibly blessed. And it didn't mean it was easy. Like making them things happen were really hard, really stressful. I can remember sitting crying, whether it be at university or be, in America, missing home, worrying, just sad because like I was away. But my family always supported me, whether that be emotionally, financially, picking up the slack, just, like that kind of way, like helping out with like, oh, I need somebody to go and, pick this piece of equipment up for dad, or I need somebody to go and check on this for him or whatever. You kind of just had to like get stuck in and make it happen and, hope for the best that you were making the right decisions at that time. But it wasn't easy, but I definitely don't have any regrets. And I know dad would be proud of the choices that we made.
That's great. Thank you for sharing this. And Eric, do you want to add something from your experience?
I think a lot of my friends and family were just very supportive. Like I'm just trying to think if there was any times I ever felt like any friction or tension or anything like that. I think initially it was just everybody super excited for you and just wants to like make sure that you're doing what's right for you. I think the only like hard times I did have was probably right when I moved. I just jumped full into my new life and I kind of forgot about a lot of the stuff going on back home, like didn't text friends or probably went like the first 2 weeks at university hardly even texting my parents. But once you get used to it and you find like everybody's different, like my family's very different compared to my friends, compared to whoever, but once you find what works for you and that person or that group of people, in terms of like how you want to stay in touch and communicate, everything got a lot easier. So that's all I got to say.
Great, thank you.
I have said, do you know what I'd say, Claudia? It wasn't so much my friends and my family were so supportive. I'd say I probably had way more anxiety about other people's opinions and judgment, like people that didn't know the full story. And I did have several situations where people like would have threw that up at me. It wasn't my friends and my family. My friends and my
Yeah,
family were awesome. It was like,
The outside people.
yeah,
I second that. I
Who want
second
it
that.
was, it's, and that's what I was thinking whenever you said about going to Australia. I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I know exactly what you mean. Now, like I had a social worker turn around to me and be like, sure, what do you do anyway? You're way up at Coleraine and you don't even live near him. And I was like, I drive down that road 3 or 4 times a week. I was like, wait, no. But yeah, it was the outsiders that the nasty comments came from, or the like, it's not nasty comments, what is it? Like the judgmental comments.
Mm,
Yeah, and I'm
mm.
sorry that happened to you. It happens basically to everyone in the HD community, that sometimes someone from the outside community feel entitled to, give you an opinion without knowing the whole story, your story. So yeah. But next question, and a little bit more happier, hopefully. Like, how has your sense of home changed, if it has changed at all during these years? I don't know, Sean, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. It's cliche and cheesy, but for me, home is the people that you're surrounded by. And it's so typical, but like I have just found, particularly over the last like few years, like 4 to 5 years, say when mum has deteriorated and she moved into an assisted living facility while we were away in Australia, actually. So that was a particularly challenging period. Um, you have to know that you've got a support system in place, both for you and for your loved one, whoever's experiencing like living with Huntington. So, although it was incredibly challenging being away, knowing I was missing those big moments, I knew that my family at home, my brother, my uncle, My parents are also separated, but my dad is an incredible support to both me and my brother because we're living at risk. And, he's very aware of what's happening and wants to be as involved as he can with all of the support. So even though we're all over the UK, um, I think just knowing that I can come to them at any point, even if it's like this on a Zoom call or something, they're my safety and my home. And I know that them and my friends and my partner, wherever we are in the world, that they're always going to be the ones that kind of anchor me and support me and mum through whatever the next stage is.
That's great. And it's not cheesy at all. It's actually right. Home is where your family and where you feel like you're welcomed. And Sadie, do you want to share your opinion on this?
Yeah. For me, for university, I knew home was always back with the family. Like that was where home was. And even moving to the UK, I know that I always have a place back home if I need to like go home. But currently right now, I do believe that London's home right now, and I don't see myself moving anytime soon. I love it here. I've created a very nice home for myself. With no family, it's fine. But it's just wherever I feel most comfortable, I think, is where home is.
And Eric, since you moved on for university and now we're getting that we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like the first few years even I lived in Calgary, like the first 2 of the 4 years, I would catch myself saying like, oh, I'm going back home, as in like the place I lived in Calgary. And I would always correct myself and be like, sorry, I mean like my house in Calgary, like home's in Manitoba. And I don't know, like that was always kind of like the joke I made with myself. But I think now like leaving Calgary and going to Montreal, um, it's not like a spot, but it's more like my connection to the communities around me. Like I'm not going to be in Calgary a lot, but I can stay in touch with my home or like my people there in different ways. Same thing with Manitoba. Like it just depends on how much you engage with those people, I guess, how much you want to be there. Like it really is as much as you put into it. Um, I think yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on what home means to me now.
Thank you. And Ashley, with all your movings, how
I
has
know
your
this.
home
I'm
changed?
thinking because Claudia, you know me, so you know that I've moved way more than what I've talked about on this call. Um, so for me, I technically left home first when I was 17, and I actually only moved back when I was in my late 20s. So I left for like 9 years. And then I moved home just before the pandemic to my little tiny village. And it was amazing because I was literally 5 minutes away from my dad's nursing home. And it was definitely hard moving back to an area when literally a pandemic hit a couple months later. Um, but see through those 9 years that I was living here, there, everywhere, this country, that country, like wherever I was, home is always my mum, my dad, and my brother. It doesn't matter about what building they're in, what home they're living in. We could be sitting in a restaurant in a different county or whatever. Home is always my mum, my dad, and my brother, and that's what's important. And everyone used to joke that like I would never stay in our local village. And I think people were so shocked when I did move home after the 9 years and I settled. I don't know whether it's like the pandemic's fault because I couldn't actually leave again. Um, but I have a beautiful home here now with my partner and our cat and our dog. And yeah, it's great to have roots. It's great to be settled. And for anybody that didn't know, we actually bought the house beside my dad's. So he would have left that house to go into the nursing home. So I literally live right beside where my dad would have lived. So I couldn't be closer if I tried.
And that's amazing. That's really, really amazing. So connecting to this, I'm asking you, do you feel like this experience of living away has shaped your connection to your family or to HD in general in any particular way?
I think it's made me the person I am today. I always had that itch in me where I wanted to travel and experience different parts of the world, even if it was just different like cities and areas in my home country. And then as far as, traveling to work in America or traveling for different HD events, it's definitely made me the person that I am. Did it make looking after dad and the whole HD journey harder? Yeah, of course it did. But it was in me that I wanted to do it, and my family was there to support me. And I think that's what's important. Just because HD is in your life, it doesn't have to mean that you can't do these things. It's maybe not as easy. You can't just pack a bag and go. You might have to, spend a year planning that and working on it and making that happen. But we all have amazing, bright futures ahead of us, regardless what way that looks in the world of HD. And I think we have to fight for that while we still, want to and can, and we have those things. And it's not for everybody. I have family members who have never, like, they maybe like moved 5 minutes from their home house and that's them, and they've lived there ever since. And that's wonderful for them. They have beautiful homes, and I am so incredibly happy and proud for them. But I think for those of us that have those, opportunities or those wants and goals to go somewhere else and experience somewhere else, I don't think HD should hold us back. And I think we are amazing, strong people for making it happen and living that part of our life and still, having our family in our hearts and being there for them.
Yeah, you're right. It may be a little bit more difficult, but it's actually not impossible.
It's not.
Yeah.
I think
Eric,
we have to remember and remind ourselves that HD is a lot, right? It's a lot to deal with, and supporting a family member who's going through it, being part of an HD family is really, really tough. And it's tough whether you're 1 mile from the family member or 50,000 miles from the family member who's going through it. And sometimes you do have to prioritize yourself and your own mental health and your own well-being. And like Ashley said, if you're somebody who finds that in going away, be that for travel or work or education, you have to just take a step back for a minute. And you can't look after someone. What's that saying? It's like you can't
You
care for
can't drink
someone
from an
or
empty cup.
yeah,
Is that it?
something like that. Some cup analogy.
It's some cup analogy.
There's some full cup analogy.
There
But if you're not
is.
filling, that's it. If you're not filling your own cup up, you can't fill someone else's cup up. I don't know.
I like that one more. Can we
I think
make
I've
that one
probably
even if it's
butchered
not
it.
one?
But anyway, yeah, look after yourself.
Yeah.
great, thank you. Eric, do you want to, add something? Has your experience shaped in any way your relationship with your family or HD in general?
I think in a lot of ways, I think the main thing, at least for me, was it made me appreciate my family a lot more in a weird way. Like you grow up in the same house, you're just like always constantly bickering about the same stuff, and especially like during COVID when I think everybody's mental health kind of took a toll, but like moving out of that house and then coming back that first Christmas, I was just kind of shocked 'cause that like it's not like we were always at each other's throats, but it was always like the small things like, hey, why didn't you put your dishes in the dishwasher? And like now there was none of that. It's like, why would we bother wasting our time on all these silly little things? Let's focus a bit more on what matters. Like, and I think that's been something my family's tried to focus on a lot more is like realizing like how lucky we are to have what we have and just finding different ways to like, still make memories, still not take our family for granted. I think that was probably my biggest thing. And I don't think you need to move away from home to realize that. I just think that was more of like a consequence or an outcome that just happened when I moved out. And my brother moved out the year after I did. So I have an older brother So yeah, I think now my parents are empty nesters, and like it kind of brings us a lot closer together when we are together.
That's great, really. And Sadie, do you want to add your opinion on this?
Excuse me. I think it just made us grow closer together. Like me being away, I was constantly always having FaceTimes with them and like having those video calls and sharing our experiences of what's happening. But when I came home, that's I think when our connection grew bigger because I was always like, okay, I'm coming home for the weekend. Let's do something. Whether it was going to visit mom for an hour and then we'd go out for lunch, like always making sure that we had not just to go visit mom and like have that emotional draining, but like also filling up our cups and like having the siblings and like understanding like we are together, like we are here for each other. It's not just when I do come home, it's all about mom, but it's about us and like having that time with my niece and nephew when they were little and like having that family time. So even now, like living in London, I come home, I try to come home once a year. And like just making sure that we all have time together and having that really good family time and connection. But even just having a little FaceTime here and there, seeing what they're up to. But I think it's definitely made that connection grow stronger with me going away.
Great, thank you for sharing. And adding on this, I'll ask you, is there anything you miss from home? It could be little things, big things, whatever comes to your mind.
You want me to go?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay. Well, when I was in university, I really missed having that time with mom and like I would get jealous of Taylor and Parker, like my two older siblings who would go every Sunday. And I was like, I'm really missing out that quality time with mom and like having that and just going for walks with her. So I was quite jealous of them. But then it made me realize I need to take what I have for granted when I do see her and like not envy them for them being there every week. But even living in London, I'm still missing the family time. Like if they're all out for Easter or Christmas, I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. But then I have to reflect and be like, you know what? I'm living my life and like I'm living my big dream of being here and traveling and like if I was home, I'd be miserable and be like, oh, I'm stuck in this small town. I don't want to be here. Um, but I miss it, but I don't miss it at the same time. Like there's things I miss, but the things I don't really miss at the same time.
Yeah, I totally get it. Sometimes we are our worst enemies, I think, because our friends and family are like, please go have your life. And we have this sense of guilt and anxiety that we need to go over because, as you said, it's my life, I'm living it, and I have the right to do it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
even like reflecting, if mom was still alive, I don't think I would have come to London because I would have wanted to be there until like she passed away. So I think, not to sound like morbid, but it helped that she did pass so I could then follow my dreams and do what I need to do.
Great, thank you for sharing. And Sean, while you were, in the other side of the world, what were the things that you missed from home?
I think the ease of being able to contact people because we were living in a van in the outback for most of our time traveling. Like we did settle in a couple of cities and we were working a bit, but not only were we on a completely opposite time zone, we like physically didn't have any mobile phone connection or Wi-Fi or anything. So there were many a night when Rob would have to like calm me down because I'd be thinking, God, we haven't had phone signal for 24 hours. What if something catastrophic has happened? Of course, it never had. But I think it's hard to like talk yourself out of that once you're there. And it's a bit like we were talking about the kind of escape plan before. Like I so often got to the point where I was like, right, if we get phone signal and I've got this message or this message, what do we do from there? How do we get back into civilization? How do we get back to the UK? So I think the ease of being here and knowing that I could get in the car and drive 2 hours if I needed to, that was the biggest challenge for me. But I also think I needed to work through that, because I had to come to a realization that I was being such a control freak. Like, I needed to know absolutely everything that was happening in mum's life, and actually being forced to step away from that and trusting that other people, other family members would be around and would do the right thing was a huge deal for me. And coming back home, I'm still 2 hours away, but it taught me that that support network is now always going to be there. And so even though I am still the closest physically to mum, everyone else can still pull their weight and, you know, wants to be present and do what they can to support each other. So yeah.
That's great. That's really, really great. Finding the power of this family, you know, in these moments, it's amazing. And Eric, when were you, you know, away for university? What were the things that you missed most?
I think it's just the atmosphere around the house. Like, it's always just a very calming place to be. And like, my parents are both really steady, and my brother too, like very steady rocks in my life. So like, you go from a super busy day at classes and your brain's just toast, and you get home and it's like, oh great, now I have to go cook. I have to go, like, I don't know, there's something else going on at the house I'm renting, and like, it just felt like that never fully stopped. Like, there wasn't really anybody else. I guess what I'm trying to say is the support network. So it took me a bit to realize that after my first couple of years, and then just started investing a lot more into the relationships I had in Calgary to build that network. Yeah.
It's always good to, you know, create a network that can help you and support you. So really good. And Ashley, do you want to add something on this?
Um, I think for all of my moving and traveling and university and trying to juggle it all, I just missed quality time. Um, I was always working like anything from 1 to 3 jobs, managing dad's care, and then in like education or doing what I was doing. And I just missed that quality time with him. And it's something that I do sometimes grapple with. You know, I sometimes I let them thoughts get into my head, and then I'm like, nope, stop it. You done the best you could, and you made some amazing memories with him. Like, everybody always thinks the grass is always greener on the other side, but it all isn't always the case. But yeah, it probably was just, you know, you could like you got a day off and you needed to make sure like you had everything you needed done for yourself in that day, and then you had everything he needed done for himself in that day, and everything was just always rushing. Or, you know, you finish classes for the day and you were like, okay, let's rush down the road, let's get his grocery shopping done, let's get it packed away, and then let's rush back up the road. You know, and it was just, it always, everything just always seemed to be like so perfectly planned, so perfectly timed. And I think it was probably when dad went into the nursing home, I loved going in to visit him because I got my quality time back. Like, I could just go in and sit there and talk to him and take selfies, and like it was so amazing. And you know, friends and family would come with me to visit him, and it was just I got that quality time back. You just weren't always running at 100 miles an hour. So yeah, I think by moving away, I made things harder on myself, and I don't regret that. It's fine. But yeah, it was sometimes I missed that quality time, that quiet time with them.
Yeah, I totally get it. Sometimes, you know, managing the house and everything you need to do, you just forget to stay with the person and just to embrace that moment. So yeah, it can be hard. And, what's something that right now you've come to love or appreciate about where you are, or in some case when you were in Australia, if you want to share about that also. What's something that you really like come to love and enjoy?
I think for me, definitely, I love having roots. I love feeling grounded, but I love the sense of adventure that I have kept. So, for example, my partner and I woke up yesterday and it was a beautiful sunny day here. Like it was an amazing day. And within like an hour and a half, we had the car loaded up and we went to the lake and we spent the whole day with his nieces and nephews on the lake. And we had one of the most amazing days I've had in a long time. And like that seems so easy and simple, but I just love, I feel like my dad left with me a sense of adventure. And whether that be the holidays that we book or the day trips that we take, or like my partner and I both ride motorbikes, like I surf, everything I do is just, I'll try it once, I'll give it a go. And I love having that, you know, I love having the time to do that maybe now because I am grounded. And every time I do something, like every time I go out in the motorbike, or every time I try a new hobby, or every time I go surfing, I'm like, just my dad loved this, so he would. My dad was sitting right there being like, go on now, have a great day. So it keeps me connected to him, even though he's no longer here. And even, moving back home, it's not where I thought I would find myself. It's not beside a body of water, which I thought I would settle beside, either like the sea or a lake. But it just goes to show you can still have that amazing time and those adventures, even if you don't live far away and you live home.
Great. Thank you for sharing this. And Eric, what's something that you really come to love about being where you are?
Yeah, I think very similar to what Ashley said, it's that like small town to big city, just there's always something to do, something new. You're always feeling like you're learning, you're getting different perspective on life. So that was a really big thing for me is just like um I don't know, trying new things is something that's really important to me. So not that I don't get that in my hometown, like there's definitely opportunities and you can make those opportunities for yourself, but it's just in the city, like those things almost seem to like seek you out a bit, or at least for me in university, it was like every day it was something new. It was almost hard to keep up with.
So yeah, keeping busy and
Yeah.
trying. And Shan, how about you? What's something that you really come to love? If you want to share both right now and when you were in Australia.
Yeah, I think in Australia, although there was the kind of mental struggle of feeling the guilt of being away and all of that, um, it really taught me the importance of stepping away and having time for yourself, and also time to put into your other relationships, like having that time with my partner, focusing on us and doing something for us. And it's something that I have tried, sometimes achieve better than other times, but I've tried to bring back with me to life in London. I'm sure anyone who's spent any time in London will agree. It's like go, 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 and it feels so busy all the time. And I really, really wanted to come back and be able to keep a sense of that kind of the freedom to remove yourself from it. Any of my friends, if they watch this, will disagree and say I haven't done that at all. I've just filled my life up completely again, but I still try to.
It's not that easy, but we have to try. It's not easy when you're used to care for someone and you used to put all your energy and mental and physical energy into the care of someone else. It's difficult to take a moment and say, okay, now I take care of me. It's not easy, but it's something that we have to learn, always achieve, but it's really, really fundamental for us. So Sadie, now it's your turn. What's something that you come to love about being where you are right now?
I guess I've come to love my independence and kind of being away from home and like letting me do what I want to do. And like you said, London always has something to do. I'm constantly busy, whether that's going to a new country on the weekends or going to a show, going to a park, having drinks with friends in the pub down the road. So I've just really come to love my life and what I've created for myself and that independence away from the family, that I don't need the family to be there every step of the way, but knowing it is there when I need it.
Great. That's really great. Thank you guys for sharing. And just to wrap up, maybe starting from Ashley, do you have anything else you'd like to share with people who might be going through something similar, thinking about moving?
I think you know yourself, you know your family, and you know what your goals and dreams are, and you need to do what's right for you. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Do I regret any of it? No. I still have amazing memories, and I know my dad and the rest of my family are proud of me. So I think I have this saying in life, and I use it for a million different things, but I'm just very much you do you. You do what you need to make yourself happy. Your life is impacted by HD, and it's really hard, but it doesn't mean that it has to stop you from doing everything. It stopped me from doing stuff. Yeah, of course it has, but it hasn't stopped me from doing everything. There's always ways to get around it, and you can still make those goals and dreams come true. So please don't stop having them.
Thank you, really, thank you. Eric?
Um, at the risk of making this all sound like just an advertisement for wanting to push to move away from home, I would say for me, like building that confidence in myself and like now it's just me, I gotta go figure life out. Like it's been really great for that. But for anybody who's already made up their mind to go home, like I would say just know that it's not like you're starting over and then you're just starting fresh again. Like it felt like that for me when I first moved, but over the years I realized like I'm still pulling lessons from growing up or like things my parents taught me. And it wasn't just this like chapter of my life closed and that one opened. It was more like there's a lot more intermingling between those sections in my life. So just know that life isn't just stop, start, stop, start. It's more just a continuing road.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sadie, do you want to add something?
I think it's important that you just take that leap of faith. Like you will always have your support system, and if they are truly your support system, they would want you to do what you need to do for your life. So I would just say take that leap of faith, do what you want to do, whether that's moving a couple hours up the road or to a whole new country with a whole new time like zone, but definitely do it and just really, I don't even know what to say right now, but like go and do it.
Yeah, thank you. It's really something that some people need to hear, because the guilt, it's so loud in your head that maybe you need someone to say, just go. If you feel like it's what you need, just go. And Sean, do you want to add some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what everyone else has said, but I think just to tie it all together, there's no shame and no guilt in whichever way you decide. Like, we've all come from it from the perspective of people who obviously have a passion for traveling and have had many different reasons to move away. If you're listening to this and you're someone who shares that, go for it. Do what you need to do. Like Ashley said, you know you better than anyone else. But equally, if the right place for you is at home, that's okay too. But you just need to do what kind of gives you energy, and fill your own cup up.
That's great, guys. I want to thank you so much for sharing your stories, sharing your opinions and your thoughts on this. We know that this is a difficult topic sometimes because it's difficult to talk about it, but really, again, thank you for sharing this. I think it's going to be really useful. And for anyone who's watching, if you need support, if you need to talk, please visit HDYO.org and you'll find the support that you need. And thank you for being here, for watching this, and I'll see you in the next episode of HDYou Community Stories.